All right, we hope you don't get rattled easily because we think our final story might just tickle your funny bone. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman with tonight's On the Road.
It's hard being an only child.
Put the dirt in there.
Especially during a pandemic. Which may explain why 2-year-old Theo Brady of Salt Lake City, Utah, recently felt a strange attraction to a Halloween decoration.
I think he got kind of lonely and he found this skeleton and is like, oh, this can be my friend.
So, to placate her son, Abigail Brady agreed to something utterly ridiculous.
Like, I was just swallowed all my pride and was like, you know, if this makes my son happy, I'm gonna do it.
Do what, you ask? Take them on a play date to the beach. Abigail was secretly hoping that would be the end of it, but the pair hit it off famously, and for the last month, Theo and the skeleton, who they named Benny, have been joined at the hip bone, dining together, dressing up as ghosts, and winding down at the end of a hauntingly long day.
Yeah, some weird way it's comforting. He likes to read Benny books, which is so cute and creepy, but cute.
Are you excited to take Benny to the grocery store?
Creepy, but cute. It's not exactly what most parents want for a baby's first bromance, but the bond is undeniable. No bones about it. Whether they're at the market or on the playground, if not for a lack of an epidermis, you'd swear this skeleton was Theo's brother from another mummy. In fact, at times, Benny almost seemed happy.
Look.
His humorous clearly showing. And who wouldn't want this kind of friend for their child?
He just sees the skeleton as someone that needs love.
Yeah, I think it's fine, unless he starts walking around with a casket.
Yeah, then that's like, oh my gosh, too far.
But for now, it's nothing to be scared of.
That's okay.
In fact, this October especially, I think we could all benefit from a little less fright and a lot more
You're so nice.
friendly. Steve Hartman, CBS News, On the Road.
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road with a Memphis gym owner who found building muscle is nothing compared to building someone's character.
It's okay.
Here at the God Body Gym in Memphis, owner Roderick Duncan says real change never happens overnight.
10.
But he says it always starts in an instant.
7.
Or in this case, an instant
4.
cup of coffee.
2. Time.
A few months ago, Roderick says he noticed someone behind his gym.
Saw this guy sitting in the vehicle.
He says the man was sleeping in one of his old cars.
Homeless? Homeless guy, had to be.
So, camera rolling, he opened the door and told him to get out.
Come on, get up out my car, man.
And because the door doesn't lock, the next day, same problem.
Look at you, man.
And he kept coming back.
He kept coming back.
And so it went, until Roderick tried a different approach.
Before I could knock on the window, I said, you know what? I came back in here, I made him a cup of coffee.
And on those grounds, Roderick began to build a relationship with 24-year-old Brian Taylor. He learned about his troubled childhood and his drinking problem, and then got him some clothes, took him to get an ID, and drove him to job interviews. He even gave him a spot on his couch.
Brian says he couldn't be more grateful, but he doesn't always show it, whether not following the rules or violating a trust. Roderick says there have been many times over the past few months where he's told Brian, that's it, that's the last straw. And every time, it's not.
Some people need more than one chance. You know, some people, it takes a while for most kids to stop bumping their head. You always have to work on you.
And that patience may be the greatest gift he's given this young man.
Everything you did yesterday is what got you in the situation today. So everything you do today is going to be preparing you for tomorrow.
And both men agree. Tomorrow is looking brighter.
I got a job. I got more confidence. I got a smile on my face.
Good thing. Because Roderick says if Brian messes up one more time, he's done helping.
That's it.
Why do I not believe that?
Well, I don't believe it either.
Unconditional love.
It's crazy.
Forgiveness to a fault. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in Memphis.
Now, a story about the kindness of a stranger and the astounding way it changed a refugee's life. Here's Steve Hartman on the road.
I really like this one.
For Ida Zhugai of Boston, Massachusetts, no matter what shows up under the tree this year, she says no present will ever compare to a gift she got back in 1999 on one of the scariest days of her life. Civil war was raging in Yugoslavia, bombs closing in on her family. So Ida's parents put their 11-year-old daughter and her sister on a plane to the U.S. by themselves. Ida vividly remembers the fear, but remembers just as well the comforting stranger seated next to her, an American.
I remember how kind she was to us, treating us like her family. So it was a bit of a shock, to be honest.
Especially when she handed you the envelope?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that somebody had so much empathy.
The outside of the envelope read in part, "I hope your stay in America will be a safe and happy one." Signed, a friend from the plane, Tracy. And when Ida opened it, she found a $100 bill inside.
Ida and her sister moved in with a relative who didn't have too much more than they did. So that $100 bill fed the family for 3 months. And Ida says it continues to feed her soul to this very day.
That's why I actually kept Tracy's letter, because it's a reminder to me that people are good.
It has also been a main driver in her life. Ida owns 2 businesses that promote environmental and social justice.
The reason why I do what I do is because of Tracy. Every decision that I made had to do with paying it forward. I was wondering if you can help me find Tracy.
A few years ago, Ida put word out on social media, hoping to find the woman who gave her life direction. She spent years searching, until not long ago, when her message finally got through to Tracy Peck of Blaine, Minnesota. Tracy, Ida, and her sister Vanya reunited last weekend.
We just stood there and hugged and cried, and I just felt such a deep love for them.
I can't wait to come to your wedding.
Tracy Peck gave away $100 to total strangers, but she says the gift she has gotten in return is far more precious.
They've taught me the slightest thing that you can do for someone, you don't realize what impact that's going to have on their life. We have no idea.
But if you're lucky, maybe someday, you will. Steve Hartman, CBS News, on the road.
Beautiful music can soothe the soul, bring a smile to your face, or even a tear to your eye. CBS's Steve Hartman has the story of a young musician that will do all 3 in tonight's On the Road.
To 11-year-old Jude Kofi of Aurora, Colorado, this surprise was music to his eyes. Obviously, whoever said the best things come in small packages was never gifted a grand piano. Jude's father, Isaiah.
So one day it just shows up at the house?
Yes, all for free. Who does that?
The answer in a moment.
Moses?
But first, the reason. About a year and a half ago, Jude's dad heard a noise coming from the basement. There was an old keyboard down there, but no one knew how to play it. Certainly not his autistic son, Jude. Or so he thought. Isaiah then got Jude a larger keyboard to see what more he could do. And boy, could he do. The kid never had a lesson. No one taught him any of this.
How do you explain that you're as good as you are?
It's a miracle.
You think it's a miracle?
That's what I prefer.
Bill Magnuson prefers that too.
Is he special?
He's beyond special. He's Mozart level. It's coming from somewhere beyond.
Bill is a piano tuner. He saw a local news story about Jude, heard him play, learned how his parents immigrated from Ghana, how they're raising 4 children and sending money back to Ghana.
What resources are left over to help this special little soul?
Yours.
Yeah.
Using an inheritance from his father, Bill bought the piano, spent $15,000. He has promised to tune it once a month for the rest of his life.
Very nice.
And he's even paying for Jude to get professional lessons.
We're family now.
Somebody to just love your son like that by making sure that his future is secured, we are super thankful. Yeah.
Press the pedal.
Caring for other children as your own. The defining note of humanity. Steve Hartman, on the road in Aurora, Colorado.
Of all the stories that Steve Hartman has covered on the road this year, the one that's been shared the most by our viewers is the story of school bus driver Curtis Jenkins. Tonight, Steve has a big surprise.
You can see why someone might hate being a school bus driver. The early hours, when the weather sours, the abundance of responsibility combined with the absence of eyes in the back of your head.
Y'all have a good day.
Nevertheless, as we first reported last May, Curtis Jenkins loves delivering these little ones to Lake Highlands Elementary in Dallas, Texas.
Yes.
Emily Grunninger is the principal.
He goes way beyond the outlined responsibilities and duties of a bus driver. I mean, that bus is like a family.
These are my children. These are my community. I love them all.
To establish community,
what's your job, man?
He starts by giving everyone responsibility.
This is one of the police officers.
It's an elaborate flowchart.
She's the administrative assistant to the president.
Administrative assistant to the president.
Yeah.
Everyone working together to build a yellow bus utopia.
And we're gonna care about each other and we're gonna love everybody, right? I put time, effort, love, care, understanding each and every one of those kids. Omar.
To show his love and understanding,
hey, Chief.
Curtis gives presents throughout the year.
You say you like baseball.
Each gift personally selected with that child in mind. He gave this girl a t-shirt.
Her first book.
With a picture from a book she made.
I'm hoping this t-shirt inspire her to keep on writing books.
Over the years, he has bought these kids bikes, backpacks, handed out cards on birthdays, and even turkeys at Thanksgiving. He has spent thousands out of his own pocket. And yet, if you ask the kids what they like most about Curtis, the gifts don't even come up.
He helps anyone in need.
Ethan Engel is a 6th grader.
It means a lot to you.
Yeah.
He says the bus ride is often the best part of his day.
My mom got divorced when I was only 4.
See you tomorrow.
He's the father that I always wanted. In some ways, I wish my dad could have been like that.
We make the mistake sometimes of thinking certain jobs are more important than others.
I know.
But Curtis Jenkins made his job important. And in doing so, even created his own salary.
That's the paycheck right there. If I can get that, you can keep the money.
He sought no reward. But after our story first aired, the kindness came back to him nonetheless, when an anonymous viewer reached out to School Superintendent Jeannie Stone with a little thank you gift for Curtis.
You're gonna be driving this brand new car!
In addition to the car, she also gave him a promotion. Curtis now teaches others how to have better student relationships. For this old bus driver, 2019 sure proved to be quite a ride. Steve Hartman, on the road in Dallas.
Finally tonight, a reminder of some of the most important things in life. Old friends, old cars, and a chance to feel young again. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman on the road.
If there's anything even remotely good about having ALS, 56-year-old Craig Reagan of College Station, Texas, says it may be a heightened sense of gratitude. Gratitude for caregivers like his wife Nancy, friends like his dog Taco, and memories like his '73 Ford Mustang, which, even though it stopped running back in 1999, has taken up permanent residence at his house.
It's a big paperweight.
Big paperweight. Why did you keep it?
I just had such an attachment to it.
He's had it since high school.
He was proud of it.
Craig had hoped that someday his boys might want to fix it up with him, but they showed no interest in cars. Then he planned to do it himself, but ALS had other plans. So the car sat rotting, until some old high school friends caught wind.
And everybody, as soon as I called these guys, they were like, yeah, let's do it.
It's in your heart. You just got to help somebody like that.
So, for the next year, they went to work on it, put in hundreds of hours, while other classmates paid for parts. And not long ago,
are you ready, Craig?
that big, immovable paperweight
1
was ready to lift off.
3.
It was just almost like a piece of him
That came back to life?
that came back to life.
Pretty vividly, actually.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are.
Craig was diagnosed with ALS in 2016. The disease is incurable, but he has clearly found his treatment.
What's it like to be back in it?
I feel like I'm a teenager.
And as for the people who made this moment possible, they insist the bigger gift was the lesson they received.
He reminded us of something maybe we forgot.
Yeah.
Just do good stuff for people. That's all that matters. Just do good stuff today.
Do good stuff today. No better medicine on earth. Steve Hartman, on the road in College Station, Texas.
Tonight, a major item is being checked off a little girl's wish list after a toy maker followed her marching orders. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman on the road.
It's already the best Christmas ever for 7-year-old Vivian Lord of Little Rock, Arkansas.
Look at this.
But why such glee
So excited.
over plastic toy soldiers? To understand, you have to go back to the summer of 2019.
I'm coming in for another shot.
It was during one of her brother's air raids that Vivian was struck by the fact that her Army men were all just that, men.
I noticed that there was no girl Army men.
No girls.
They don't make them.
My interview from last year.
And were you disappointed when you found out there weren't any?
I don't know why anybody has not thought of that.
So Vivian wrote a letter that read in part, "Please, can you make Army girls that look like women?" She sent copies to several Army men manufacturers, including Jeff Immel, owner of BMC Toys in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
I've never gotten a letter from a child like that before, but every now and then somebody asks, do you have any female toy soldiers?
The answer has always been no, although Jeff told me it was on a list of potential future projects. He even had concept drawings.
They were doing sketches, but they were busy making boy Army men.
Vivian just couldn't understand the injustice. And when poor Jeff was faced with those puppy dog eyes,
so
he surrendered.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it?
I'm going to do it.
So Vivian put this to the top of the list.
Yeah, she put it to the top of the list easily. Yeah.
Shortly after receiving Vivian's letter, Jeff enlisted the first woman into the vintage plastic military. Today, there are 22 figures in all. And this holiday, they will be taking up positions under Christmas trees across the country.
And that makes me super happy. I would play with them every day.
Every day.
A decisive victory in the battle for equality. Steve Hartman, on the road in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman heads into the spin cycle on the road.
In the shadow of the Colorado Rockies, we found a man with a mountainous dilemma.
Well, it doesn't look too intimidating from here.
What to do with all the antique washing machines he has collected.
You've got a problem.
I do have a problem.
As we first reported a few years ago, Lee Maxwell had to build a warehouse to store them all.
First automatic, 1937.
And what's more is there's more.
No.
Way more.
No.
Behind that one warehouse, there's a second warehouse. Again, filled with nothing but washing machines.
I told you it was insane.
It is one of the largest personal collections of anything in America. And Lee says it all began, innocently enough, with a farm auction. He came home with so many washing machines, his wife Barbara wanted to hang him out to dry.
Yeah. She was thinking bad things about me.
Yeah.
That I lost my rocker, and I think maybe I did. Squeezer scrubber combination.
Today, There are about 1,500 different machines in his collection.
Goes up and down.
Ones that you power,
Push it.
and ones that use power.
So you put your sheep on here.
Yeah.
He's even got a model of one that was never mass-produced, that ran on child labor.
So there would be one kid here, and they would just go...
One here, and then they'd teeter-totter. Isn't that inventive?
So what's your dilemma now?
Trying to find a home for it, so the thing can be preserved.
Do you think about this often?
I do, every day. You need with Steve Hartman or Bill Gates or something.
He'd like to find a benefactor.
Preferably a Bill Gates.
Someone who could build a proper museum. But in the 4 years since we first told this story,
I have 0 takers.
In fact, his problem has only gotten worse. Lee has added dozens of new ones.
There's always a beautiful one just around the corner.
Got a question for you.
And as for the machine around this corner, Barbara says no progress there either.
Do you know how to turn this on?
Absolutely not.
I didn't think so.
Washing machines have changed, but men, not so much.
Well, you tell me.
Steve Hartman, on the road in Eaton, Colorado.
It's the age-old question of what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, for one New Jersey man, the egg always came first. CBS's Steve Hartman explains on the road.
For John Amalfitano, the past is ever present. Everywhere you look in his Dunellen, New Jersey home, there are relics from a bygone era.
I don't know what it is with me. I mean, I just have a connection with old stuff.
And he says no connection runs deeper than the curio in this cabinet.
That's the oddest thing of all.
It's a chicken egg, bequeathed to John by a neighbor who found it in a carton of eggs in 1951. The neighbor saved it because of the note. Whoever gets this egg, please write. Signed, Miss Mary Foss, Forest City, Iowa. John says his neighbor held on to the egg for 50 years and never looked for her. Then John held on to it for another 20 before finally posting pictures on the Weird and Wonderful Secondhand Finds Facebook page. To its 3 million members, he pondered, wonder if she might still be alive.
So, all those people who had egg on their Facebook hatched a plan, scrambled, tried hard to find this Mary Foss. After 72 years, they expected an exhausting search that would not be over easy. But they cracked the case in less than a day. And for those of you keeping track at home, that was 8 puns in 15 seconds. Do you remember writing on that egg?
Oh my goodness, yes.
And you were hoping to find someone to be a pen pal?
Well, who knows? We all dream.
Mary is now 92. But as a teenager working in an egg packing plant like this one, Mary says she used to dream of meeting someone in a far-off place. That fragile little message in a bottle, her way of reaching out.
Yes.
And now, 72 years later, she has finally made her connection.
And here it is.
How are you, egg?
This week, they came face to face for the first time.
And I hope we get to see you again.
Would you want to meet John in person?
Oh, I'd love to meet God, wouldn't you?
Oh.
John. Oh, John. Not really. I have no desire to meet the guy. He's got his problem. Keeping an egg that long.
Yeah, you're saving 70-year-old eggs. Yeah, you got a point there.
Well, when you get to be my age, you meet a lot of kooks.
Sorry, John. Looks like the yoke's on us.
There's my uplifting ending.
Steve Hartman, on the road in Mason City, Iowa.
How you like your egg?
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road for a story about a Minnesota bus driver who gave one person a lift and the rest of us hope.
Nothing gets past Minneapolis bus driver Jane Arndt Verhelst. Tire pressure, seats clean, all systems go. But recently, Jane noticed a problem outside her bus. It was about a month ago. She was approaching this intersection when she saw a woman standing in the middle of the road.
And then when I opened up the door, that's when I really saw her. I saw her from head to toe, and I was just like, wow.
The woman, who appeared to be homeless, wasn't wearing any shoes.
I can't imagine what it's like walking around in bare feet on the hot pavement and just nobody sees you. She's just kind of invisible, you know?
You don't have any shoes.
But not to Jane, who immediately took the shoes off her own feet
Here's one. Here's another.
and gave them to her.
No, she's getting my shoes. Oh, okay.
I knew that you're not supposed to drive in your socks. It's a big no-no. But I couldn't help it.
Come on in, you guys.
Several riders witnessed that moment, but perhaps no one was more touched by it than this woman. Sarah Selden had been homeless before. She knows how meaningful a simple kindness can be.
It really affected me because it was like, oh my gosh, she sees this woman.
We're often told to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. But in certain moments, it's almost more important to let that someone stand in ours. Steve Hartman, on the road in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road to visit a Texas home that was once destroyed by hate, but rebuilt with love.
Good grief.
At the age of 97,
Good morning.
just stepping out of a 4x4 is a major accomplishment. But Opal Lee has taken much greater strides than this, with no plans to sit anytime soon.
Where do we go from here? We don't have to sit around and wait for the Lord to come for us. In fact, he's going to have to catch me.
As we first reported a few months ago, Opal is a retired teacher and lifelong community activist in Fort Worth, Texas. She's mostly known for her successful campaign to make Juneteenth a national holiday. But what is lesser known is how that fire in her belly came to be. Back in 1939, when Opal was 12, her family moved into a house that stood right here in an all-white neighborhood. They'd lived here just 5 days when a mob showed up.
What did the mob do to your house?
They tore it asunder. They set stuff on fire. They did despicable things.
The family moved away and moved on. They just wanted to forget the horror. Until 8 decades later, when Opal Lee decided the time had come to remember it. So she looked up the address, found out the lot was still vacant and owned by the local chapter of Habitat for Humanity.
CEO Gage Yeager took Opal's call. He listened to her story, but then told her she could not buy that property.
Said, well, we won't sell it to you, Opal, but we'll give it to you. There's no option for anything else.
What'd you think when you heard that?
When I get happy, I want to do a holy dance, but the kids say I'm twerking, so I don't ever do it.
And she still hadn't heard the best news.
How are you?
Real good, real good.
Gage also offered to work with donors to put a house on her land for free. And today, he delivered. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1 happy homeowner.
This is wonderful, wonderful.
Long ago, a group of thugs robbed Opal's family of the American dream. And 85 years later, another mob has restored it. Now, all Opal wants is time to enjoy the gift.
I want you to know that I've got a God who has been so good to me. I think if I ask, he'd let me have a couple of more years.
A most worthy prayer. Steve Hartman, on the road in Fort Worth.
It's amazing how far a single dollar will go when it's given out of kindness. Here's Steve Hartman on the road.
Inside Buckfeather, an outdoor sporting store in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, we met a great American success story.
Because it's about you.
At 42, owner Matt Busbus and his partners have built and sold several outdoor companies worth hundreds of millions. But Matt says he's never felt richer than he did the day he got the dollar.
I haven't had that much faith in humanity in a very long time.
He says it all began about a month ago.
It was early morning, and the fire alarm was going off inside his condo complex. So Matt shot out of bed and raced down the stairs, only to discover there was no fire. But he's awake now. So even though he was wearing mismatched clothes and all disheveled, Matt decided to go out for a cup of coffee. And as he was about to enter the shop, he remembered he hadn't done his morning prayer. So, as the security camera shows, Matt stepped to the corner of the patio.
And I start to slowly open my eyes, and there's a kid coming at me about my height.
And with his fist clenched. So Matt prepared for battle.
And he goes, and reveals a $1 bill. And I go, what?
If you're homeless, here's $1.
This is 9-year-old Kelvin Ellis Jr.
I always wanted to help a homeless person, and I finally had the opportunity.
Kelvin says he had just gotten the $1 for good grades. It was the only money he had to his name. Matt was so touched. He invited Kelvin in for a snack, connected with the boy's father, who was next door, and promised to stay in touch.
What's up, dude?
As a reward for his kindness, Matt gave Kelvin a shopping spree. 40 seconds to pick out whatever he wanted in the store, including a new bike. Kelvin says it was great, but definitely not what he wanted to get for his $1.
What were you hoping would come from that?
Joy,
Joy?
because I helped someone. Give something away, you feel like you got a lot of things from it.
If you give, you're actually going to get more out of that. I couldn't grasp that as a kid. And if we can spread that around, everything changes.
$1. So well spent.
Cheers to friends forever.
Steve Hartman, on the road.
Amen.
In Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
One of the marvels of being a parent is watching how quickly your children grow. CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road with one family to see how they handled an important milestone.
Those are big muscles.
The Bishop family of Festus, Missouri can smile now, but a few months ago the mood was much more somber as Courtney, Jake, and their daughter Hazel said goodbye to a very important member of the family.
We had been trying to wean her off of it for some time.
Hazel's beloved pacifier, affectionately known as Passy, had been with her for years. And Jake knew saying goodbye could come with tears and tantrums. So he searched for creative approaches to ease the transition, like cutting off the end,
Broken.
soaking it in vinegar,
You got to cover them up so they can grow.
or planting it in a pot.
I did it a little bit differently.
A little bit?
Yeah, a little bit differently.
No, a lot of it differently.
Okay, it's a lot.
We are gathered here to remember Pass, the pacifier bishop, one of the greatest passies to have ever graced the lips of a toddler.
Jake gave Passy a full-on funeral.
May I have Hazel and the Passy?
Of course, before the internet, parents used to just take the thing away and deal with the tantrum. But today, young parents like Jake, for better or worse, would rather not go to war over a binky. They're pacifists, if you will.
You need them to go through some tough times to really grow as a person, but you don't need to make extra tough times for them. They'll have plenty of those coming up.
Put the dirt on top of the Passy. Yep.
Parents delight in marking milestones, but those milestones are often bittersweet. Because each turning point is a point of no return.
She's transitioning to the next stage of her life. We just got to hold on to those moments and those memories, and this is why we do this stuff. It gives us these memories to look back on, because it goes fast.
How do you feel?
I want to do it again, please.
Hazel hasn't asked for it again since. Although shortly after the ceremony, Jake dug it up and buried it again in a keepsake box.
I love you so much, okay? Okay.
Making Dad the one who just can't let go.
Good night, sweet pea.
Steve Hartman, on the road, near St. Louis.
Finally tonight, one man's long military career and a special hometown effort to honor him. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman on the road.
So as we gather here on this Memorial Day,
at a ceremony in Poolesville, Maryland, American Legion Post 247 paid special tribute to one of its own.
He was a Marine. He was most proud of being a Marine.
The vet they're honoring is Gunnery Sergeant Richard Remp. Remp, who everyone called Gunny, quit high school to serve in World War II and stayed all the way through Vietnam.
Here's all his ribbons.
Friends Julian Singh and James Capicilli say he was highly decorated.
That's right.
And all those accomplishments, and there was still one thing left undone.
Yes.
High school diploma.
That was his sort of farewell wish.
Fortunately, Pennsylvania law allows for any honorably discharged veteran of World War II, Korea, or Vietnam to receive an honorary high school diploma. Unfortunately, it takes time, and Gunny had just days to live. Nevertheless, his friends, in desperation, reached out to school officials here in his hometown of Sharon, Pennsylvania.
Hi.
Superintendent Justy Glaros took the call.
I have a lot of passion for the men and women that serve our country, and just everything inside of me said, yes, go, do it.
So she expedited the request and then went the extra mile, or more like the extra 550 miles, driving nearly 5 hours each way to hand deliver his diploma.
It was overwhelming. And, I knew that he had been weak, but in that moment, he wasn't. He was all in.
Gunny died 2 days later. He was 98.
The last thing he really remembered was getting that high school diploma from Justy.
This may be the most memorable graduation story of the season, but it is also not entirely unique. This weekend and in the days ahead, about 4 million people will graduate high school, and behind each diploma, you'll find at least one educator who made the moment possible. Steve Hartman, on the road in Poolesville, Maryland.